Welcome to the Codecast podcast. Real-world insights for your daily medical coding and billing processes. And now, here's your host, Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Codecast podcast today. My name is Terry Fletcher. So today I'm going to make it kind of short and sweet. I've got a couple of topics I want to talk about. First, if you want more information on the upcoming potential telehealth changes or non-changes, I should say, I know I podcasted on it last week as far as what Medicare is doing, what's in the final rule, what Congress has not done yet, but now that the election's over and we now have a new administration coming in, hopefully the Senate, Congress, the House will get back to work. And so, and fix the geographic location. But if you want more information in writing and then cited information, go to the AAPC website, go to the blog, and I wrote a blog page for them on Friday, so the 8th. So just go ahead and take a look at that, and it'll give you all the information you want on that. So one of the things that has come up recently is the scrutiny under the 25 modifier. I know that a lot of people are trying to use that a lot of times to protect the E&M service when they also do any kind of minor procedure on the same date or vaccine or a preventative service or anything like that. So here's something you have to be careful of, because when a patient comes in for a new patient visit and then you do a minor procedure or diagnostic, usually you don't have any problem getting with the 25 modifier, 2 different diagnoses. Even though CPT says you don't need it, you really do, just to, differentiate between the two services. But it's when you get the new complaint or the problem that arises with the 25 modifier on established patient visits. So I've always called them the by the way visit. So a patient is coming in for their 6-month check, let's say for chronic problems, hypertension, diabetes, whatever. And then, by the way, my shoulder's really bothering me and I can't tell if it's joint or if it is vascular or what it is, but I can hardly lift my arm. When there's a change in condition that what they call significantly, separate, something like that is definitely going to add not only to the risk or possibly the level, it may not, but possibly the level of your service. But let's say in that same visit, then the provider decides to, and let's say it's primary care, decides to also do maybe a trigger point or a joint injection. So it's important to make sure that if that's happening, especially with joint pain or something, because it's getting worse or it's elevating, progressing, then that can be considered appropriate and medically necessary. And you're showing that it's okay to do an E&M plus to do that joint injection. But what I have found a lot of times with the modifier 25 is that there's not a lot of documentation that shows really the clinical rationale or the medical necessity for both the E&M and the procedure. So you have to state the reason, not just the E&M, what problems are you addressing, what are you dealing with? And when we talk about the patients that are established, one thing I see quite a bit is the patient was already scheduled to come in, let's say for a lesion removal, or they were scheduled to come in for an endoscopy, or they were scheduled to come in for that joint injection, or they were scheduled to come in for skin tag removal, something where that minor procedure was already scheduled. And if that's the case, it's hard to pull an E&M out of there unless there is a full workup and a different problem addressed. So unless it's clearly separated from the E&M service, that minor procedure, it's hard to show that medical necessity, or if you have to appeal a denial, it's hard to really show that there was a different problem or a different service or a clear line between the E&M service and the minor procedure. Now, even though you don't use the history or exam to level your service, so we don't use it in the scoring process, let's say. So a lot of people say, oh, you don't need a history and exam. Yes, you do. It's still an important part of the documentation, especially if the provider wants reimbursement for an E&M visit on the same day as a minor procedure. So when I audit, that's something I look for, and I want to be able to tell from that history of present illness whether the patient presented for the minor procedure or for the condition evaluation and management, and then while they were there, then there was something that stemmed up, or there was something that had to be taken care of. Because if the chief complaint, or if the HPI says patient here for injection, patient here for biopsy, patient here for lesion shaving, then there is no E&M service. We know why they're there. It's pre-planned. And that's where you can get into a lot of trouble, because remember, the 25 modifier, I don't remember a year where it hasn't been on the OIG website. It's always subject to intense scrutiny, because it has been associated with abusive and fraudulent billing practices of the past. And a lot of payers actually propose strict policies such as automatic prepayment review. So my good friend Betty Hovey, her and I have talked about this. She's a consultant as well. And we have these conversations ongoing about the 25 modifier. And I know she also has an article on Part B News that she was talking about it as well. And we absolutely agree on the situation when it comes to reflecting medical necessity. But sometimes charts can bury, the note for the procedure. I have to go looking for it sometimes when I audit. And so sometimes, we might miss the procedure when we're auditing, and we're trying to figure out, where is your minor procedure note? It should be at the end. It should be separate. It should be clearly separated from your E&M service. And it has to have details, that separate it from the E&M visit. So you just want to make it very easy for the payer to see that those are separately identifiable services. Remember the definition of the 25 modifier. So you have to have the separation, show the separation, and just make sure that you're not trying to overcode or capture something that just isn't there. I see that too many times. Here's a good example that I had just read about. So it said the provider reported a 99213 with a 25 modifier and a 17110 for destruction of, it says, laser surgery, electrosurgery, cryosurgery, chemical surgical curatement, which is cutting, of benign lesion other than skin tags, up to 14. So in this case, two separate diagnoses could really show how it's clearly significant and separately identifiable. And if that note says anywhere that the patient is here for a removal of a skin lesion, you're not going to get that E&M service paid. That's going to be a red flag saying, well, it was pre-scheduled, so you don't have an E&M component. It's not qualified for an E&M as well. So this is where you just have to really make it clear that it's two separate services. And if you can't do that, then you're going to have some issues just trying to get those services paid. And I don't want you to have issues with that 25 modifier. The Codecast podcast is also brought to you today by Just Coding. It is your online coding education destination. Pay one price and earn dozens of AAPC, ACDIS, and AHEMA credits annually. Save 10% off a new subscription using the coupon code SAVE10. Go to justcoding.com to subscribe. Okay, so any personal tidbits? Well, I'll probably get some emails, cards, letters, whatever for this, but most of you know me. I mean, I've got over 1 million downloads now, and I appreciate each and every one of you for listening, participating with the Codecast, and really just giving me such positive feedback. But on occasion, I do get those people that say, we don't want to hear it. Well, it's my podcast, so, and I've been around for 7 years now. Actually, I'm celebrating my 7th year on November 1st of the Codecast podcast. And so I'm just going to say it. I'm really happy that we now have President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect Vance in the White House. I hope we get back to some normalcy and just regular, non-woke, non-lefty everything. So I hope everyone at least is reconciled with that. For the side that did not win, I understand it, because I would have been devastated if it went the other way. I really would not have been happy. But just know I also submitted something, and this is something that RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., had put out there, that he wanted to know what we wanted changed or what we wanted done with the MAHA movement, which is Make America Healthy Again, since it's a healthcare podcast. And he said, do you see policies that nobody's listening? So I actually went on the website he had and filled out, I want Medicare fixed. I want them to stop attaching all of these, relief bills. Then they need to fix it. We need to get our fee schedule fixed. We need to get those out of there and find another way to pay for them. We don't need it attached to Medicare, and it constantly gets that way. We have the 2% sequestration. We got a 4% pay-go coming up from something that Biden did in 2021, and we just can't have that in addition to a 2.9% decrease of the Medicare fee schedule. So, I mean, I already got a confirmation that we heard you, we got your information, and we may be asking for some follow-up information. Thank you for citing information and being so detailed. So I was pretty excited about that. So regardless of, again, which way you voted, and it's a free country. I'm happy that you voted, no matter how you voted. But just know that was one of my main things. So it's about policy. And for me, it was about making America healthy again and trying to hopefully fix our Medicare program. I was tired of people saying, well, we won't touch it. You need to touch it. You need to get Part B services back up to, compete with inflation. Right now, we're getting paid at 1972 rates, and that's not okay. And so that's what I really, really wanted to happen. So anyway, hopefully you see my point there. Hopefully I don't get any negativity, but if you agree with me, or if you're positive, that I wouldn't mind hearing. So it's always good to hear you guys on my social media platforms. You can find me on LinkedIn, find me on Instagram, find me on X, which formerly Twitter. So I look forward to hearing from you. Hopefully it's positive. But everyone, I hope you have the rest of your week is good, and make it a great day. And thank you for listening to the Codecast podcast.
For more information on medical coding, billing, auditing, and compliance, including how to hire Terry, follow Terry on Twitter @TerryCoder1, or visit her website at www.terryfletcher.net. Podcast producer Joe Kuzma. Music producer Dassassin Music.